is going down, squad? I figured I would be able to come back and talk a little bit more about training camp. I know we had came on a little bit earlier with Aponte and with Elliot, but I figured let's come back because there's still some things that I kind of wanted to get into and talk about. I think also we're going to do a little bit of a dual stream here with Instagram. So I'm going to get Instagram in here. Let's talk about it. Also, it's going to be very interactive. So if you have any questions, comments about anything that you want to talk about, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm going to be going back and forth between YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Instagram, but I do want to talk to everyone about what we saw, what I saw from training camp today, and kind of get into it because you're kind of getting a lot of differentiating opinions. And I just want to throw my 2 cents into the mix. So shout out all the squad on Instagram. We're also doing YouTube as well. So you'll see I'm going to be going all over the place. But today I do want to be interactive. I want to go back and forth between the entire squad, but I do want to talk about what went down today. Also, on top of what went down today, DK Metcalf just got signed to an extension, 3 years, $72 million. And the key figure, $58 million guaranteed for a 3-year deal, which includes a $30 million signing bonus, the highest ever for a wide receiver. Oh boy, San Francisco 49ers, you know what to do. Sign Debo right now. Get that man paid. My guy already knows the vibes. But you already know what that means. Tory Dandy. He represents Debo Samuel and DK Metcalf. Tory's out here. Tory's out here working, bro. Tory's been getting all his boys signed, and last but not least, Debo Samuel is waiting in the wings to get that check. I already see it in the chat. Let's get it in the chat over here on YouTube. Pay Debo. Hashtag pay Debo. Drop it in the chat. Let's see it because we all know the vibes. We want to get that man paid. Speaking of Debo, got to see Debo today again at practice. He was off to the side. That man was cooking. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about how Debo was cooking? I don't know why it keeps being, people will drop into my DMs, they'll drop into my comments. You see Debo, he looks fat. Like, what? I was like, I haven't really seen any of that from Debo all off season. Like, and today we got to see it looked like Debo was running full speed sprints. They were probably about 40-yard gassers, whatever. But that man was cooking. He was flying. So we already know what the vibes are. We want to get Debo Samuel paid. Let's put it to bed. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. And we really do want to see Debo Samuel out there on the field. We know why he's not out on the field. We want to get him paid. We want to get him locked up. We want to do all that good stuff first. So get Debo Samuel paid. Get him out on the field. Get him out there working with Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, Trey Lance, the rest of the team, and let's get it going. Because DK Metcalf and the Seattle Seahawks, our good friends up north, just broke the bank. So now it's on the San Francisco 49ers. Let's go. The clock is still working. Time to pay Debo. So we'll see what goes down with that. I'm patiently waiting, still very confident that Debo gets paid. We'll see what happens, though. We will see what happens. But let's talk a little bit about training camp. I know a lot of people were going back and forth about Trey Lance. They want to say, oh, I think what were the stats today? It was like what, 7-14 on the day. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of keeping track of training camp stats. And that goes back to Jimmy Garoppolo. That goes back to a while. This has been a long time coming. So I know a lot of people, especially if you're not at camp, you see those numbers, they're alarming. They kind of throw you off. They're like, oh no, did he have a bad practice? And we'll talk about it in this sense. First team period. Trey was not doing his best. He had good throws, he had bad throws. But how I measure training camp is how you progress through a practice. You can have a rocky start to a practice, but how do you finish practice? How do you continue to move forward? And one of the things with Trey Lance is that first period, yes, he had a couple issues here or there. He had a one pass to, I think, Juwan Jennings. It was kind of a timing issue. Looked like he threw it a little late, was behind Jennings, wasn't able to get to there. He had another pass where it looked like he was trying to get it to Ray out in the flat, a little too far ahead. But you were able to see kind of Trey Lance respond and be able to come back. Also, part of the nuance into this part of training camp. This part of training camp is there are no pads. There are no pads. So it is very important to remember that the offensive linemen are already at a disadvantage. When there are no pads, there's no contact. It's really difficult for offensive linemen to do what they need to do. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say that as a former offensive lineman. I know what it's like to practice with no pads. I know what it's like to practice in shells and a helmet. I know what it's like. I've been there. And there's an extreme difference. And when you're going up against a defensive line, you're already at a disadvantage with no pads. Then you look at the kind of setup of the 49ers offensive line right now. Again, Trent Williams not at practice today. You got Aaron Banks getting his first opportunity to start at left guard. You get Jake Brendel kind of rotating in with Brunskill, who looks like he's kicking down to center. You go to right guard. Burford is getting his first crack at starting at right guard. He's taken all the starting snaps at right guard, by the way. And then McGlinchey is the starter in walkthroughs. But just like we talked about with Mike, it's going to be a slow ramp up. It's going to be a little bit of a process. So Jalen Moore has been starting. If you look at the starting unit that steps out on to the practice field for team period, out of all five of those offensive linemen, they account for 3 starts last year. So not only is it kind of put together offensive line, but you have no pads, and it makes it very difficult. So shout out to the defensive line. Our defensive line looks phenomenal. Nick Bosa, ladies and gentlemen, holy crap. Nick Bosa looks like he is going to straight up defensive player of the year vibes. He is going to wreak havoc. At this point last year, Nick Bosa was not participating in team period. He was not because he was recovering from an ACL. I mean, from my memory, they kept him out of team period, if not the entire training camp. So we are already getting Nick Bosa out there on the edges. We're starting to see Javon Kinlaw. We're starting to see all these other guys ball out. Drake Jackson, Kamoko Ture would have obliterated, would have probably beheaded Brock Purdy today. But because there's no contact, Brock Purdy delivered a strike 45 yards downfield in stride. Danny Gray. Oh boy. We saw a little bit of the rookie deep threat out there today. That was fun. We didn't get a whole lot of Danny Gray yesterday, but today we got a nice deep shot from Brock Purdy to Danny Gray. Really good, really good throw. He dropped it right in the bucket. Danny Gray was able to snag it. Probably would have been 45 yards. Probably would have been a house call. We got to see some of that speed. So a lot of good things to take away, but I know a lot of people want to talk about Trey Lance. And again, kind of going back to the entire situation that we've always talked about Trey Lance, like he needs to get out there and he needs to get the reps. And from today, the things that were positive that I saw was even though he started out rocky, he was able to kind of get back on track. Now, he did throw an interception. Shout out Jimmy Ward. I cannot express enough how good of a defense that the San Francisco 49ers have. Like, a lot of people want to focus on Trey Lance having miscues, but kind of not focus on the fact that Emmanuel Mosley, Charvarius Ward, Jimmy Ward, Talanoa Hufanga all had lights out plays on the day. Charvarius Ward, he was all over Ayuk. He was all over Juwan Jennings, Emmanuel Mosley. And shout out Ayuk because Brandon Ayuk is balling too. Brandon Ayuk is having a phenomenal camp. One of my favorite plays from today. It was a really nicely thrown ball to Brandon Ayuk from Trey Lance down the left sideline, probably about 25, 30 yards. You get a beautiful Brandon Ayuk squaring his shoulders up to the ball, going up, high pointing it at the catch point. He catches it. Brandon Ayuk catches it. It's a beautiful, beautiful snag. And it's like, I was like, oh, like it was beautiful snag. But who was right there? E-Man. E-Man was right there, and he knocked the ball out. Incomplete. And you just look at that matchup, and you're like, you hear it said all the time, right? Iron sharpens iron, all that kind of stuff. Like, that's what that was. Like, you got a good ball. Ayuk made a great play on the ball. E-Man finished it and ensured that no catch was going to be made today. So there's some battles out there right now. Talanoa Hufanga had a phenomenal PBU today. Really, really nice. E-Man's been, I'm telling you, man, E-Man and Charvarius Ward, like, they are clamps, bro. Like, they are straight clamps. I'm trying to think. I know we look at the 2019 San Francisco 49ers defensive roster and we look at what, Richard Sherman was capable of doing. Again, remember, no one threw to Sherman's side. They just didn't throw it. They just didn't do it. They didn't try it. They didn't attempt to. They said, oh, is that Richard Sherman over there? All right, we're just going to throw at undrafted free agent Emmanuel Mosley or former third-round draft pick Ahkello Witherspoon. They're like, that's what we're going to do. They just didn't throw. And shout out Sherm. That's not taking away anything from Sherm. Sherm's one of the smartest football players to step on the field. And he knew how to run the routes just as well as the wide receivers. But there is an opportunity, at least from a cornerback standpoint. Now, the Shark, we don't have the Shark anymore, but there's an opportunity right now with Charvarius Ward and Emmanuel Mosley to be the best corners in the NFL. And don't take it from me. You heard Richard Sherman say it. You heard Richard Sherman say it today. And he's absolutely right. That's exactly what it looks like in training camp. Like, today, we got a real glimpse of what this secondary can look like. And we talked about it. We've spoken about as many hypotheticals about the 49ers offense as we or defense as we could with the addition of Charvarius Ward. We've talked about it. Well, and you had Emmanuel talk about it as well. Charvarius is a great press man corner. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, when you can have great press man corners on the outside, it allows you to have erasers on the outside, which means you can be more creative with your fronts, with the way you attack offensive lines with your front seven, because you know on the back end you have the coverage. You got the guys available to cover and clamp and lock down the DK Metcalfs of the world, the Cooper Cups of the world. So be very excited. Like when you're hearing these reports come out of camp that you're hearing great reports about Charvarius Ward, you're hearing great reports from Emmanuel Mosley. Brandon Ayuk is giving them work. Again, Juwan Jennings is giving them work. Another example today, Juwan Jennings running a go route down the sideline. Probably about 30 to 40-yard ball. Trey Lance uncorks it. It was one of the first kind of nice rainbow balls that we got from Trey Lance. It was not a bad pass. It was not a bad pass. It was a good pass. He put it in a spot for Juwan Jennings to go up and make a play. But guess what? Charvarius Ward was there. And Charvarius Ward said, "Not today, sir." He said, "I love you, Juwan. I hope for nothing but the best for you in this upcoming season, but today's not the day." Charvarius said, "You ain't catching this ball on me, my boy." So again, a lot of people are going to focus because we understand the 49ers quarterback position will continue to be a polarizing topic, but you also have to understand the nuance involved. And remember, it's practice. It's practice. Trey Lance had a couple good plays too. And like I said, what I'm looking for, and I've said this about my expectations for Trey Lance on the season, as long as Trey Lance looks better at the end of the year than he does at the beginning, I consider that a success. People are putting Trey Lance on this Patrick Mahomes pedestal, and I understand there's some correlations. The athletic ceiling is through the roof. He's a cerebral kid, all that good stuff. But we also understand he hasn't had a lot of reps, and that's what we're seeing at camp. Just give the man some reps. Give him some time. Let's see what he has with a formidable offensive line in front of him that can actually block a little bit because they have pads and they can get their hands on you and they can hit and do all those types of things. So what I saw, again, based on the context of what today was, is I saw Trey Lance not look so hot in the beginning of practice. That's good detail. Not look so good, but get it together towards the other team periods at the end of the day. And he was starting to make some plays. He just absolutely threaded the needle over the middle to George Kittle. Got a really nice pass to George Kittle. That one was pretty. You had some other ones. Like I said, Brandon Ayuk caught that pass, but E-Man was able to break it up. You had another one where it was a back-to-back play where Trey Lance was flushed out of the pocket to his left, and then he was able to kind of hit it to Brandon Ayuk crossing over the middle. Very next play, stands tall in the pocket, delivers a strike to Juwan Jennings. So he was able to kind of calm down a little bit, but that's to be expected, right? Like at a certain point, like we need to understand and give this guy some time to breathe. Just give him some time to breathe. Give him some opportunities to make some mistakes. That's what practice is for. That's what practice is for. So far, I liked what I saw. It wasn't perfect, but you still see the talent, you still see the ability, and he was able to make some plays down the stretch of practice. But again, you had Talanoa Hufanga with the PBU on Ray Ray. You had Charvarius Ward doing Charvarius Ward things. Uh, some good stuff, man. It was some good stuff. But so far, as we kind of know, defense is going to shine. Oh, I got you, my guy. Right on time. Right on time. My guy asked for, hey, any Taylor Hawkins updates from today? Yes, sir. So the Taylor Hawkins update would be Robert Kimdichi. Robert Kimdichi looking kind of spicy out there. I'm not going to lie. You guys already know. Your boy Nostradamus uh, saw Robert Kimdichi doing some work out there. Like, you can tell, like, from an energy standpoint, when guys are about that, like when they're hungry. And Kimdichi, like, I think he understands the opportunity that he has in front of him, and he is taking full advantage. Yes, there's no pads, but he is pretending like there's no pads. Now, it might be annoying for offensive linemen, but as someone who's evaluating defensive linemen, you like to see that. He was going to be able to he would have had a sack on Brock Purdy, but as you know, they just go off to the side and they want to complete the play. They don't want the play to be dead. Brock Purdy just let it rip deep down the field. Taylor Hawkins made a beautiful interception deep down the middle of the field, went up, snagged it. And Taylor Hawkins really showed a really strong athletic profile to be able to, one, pinpoint the football, and two, go up and get it and make a really nice catch. So undrafted free agent Taylor Hawkins came away with the INT today. Again, deep on a Brock Purdy shot down the middle of the field. Was a really nice pick. Was a really, really nice pick. Liked it a lot. Right on time, my guy. Right on time. Someone said, how's Danny Gray looking? Danny Gray had a really nice catch today. We got to see some of the speed. We got to see Danny Gray get behind the defense. The thing that we've all kind of been waiting for. Kind of why when we saw him get drafted, a lot of people see the 4.33 speed. We saw a little bit of that today. So Danny Gray looks like he's going to be able to be a player. The 49ers have a lot of weapons right now, and that's without Deebo Samuel. And I can only imagine when Deebo Samuel gets an opportunity to join the rest of the gang, the energy that will bring, the energy of bringing Trent Williams back into the fold, the energy that Mike McGlinchey brings back into the fold. There's still a lot of opportunity to get better. Is there any video of the Taylor Hawkins interception? No, they don't allow us to record at that part of the practice. But it was really nice. Let's see some other things. Like I said earlier, there was Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason looks like a guy. We understand that Kyle Shanahan just has this crazy ability to find undrafted free agent running backs and turn them into guys. I mean, look at Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson is an undrafted free agent running back out of North Texas. He's been able to stick on the roster for quite some time. Still around, still balling. Jordan Mason today made a really good catch on kind of a comeback towards the sideline. Nate Sudfeld threw a really good ball, but kind of out in front to make sure that the defense couldn't get their hands on it. And Jordan Mason made a really nice catch. Not only did he make a really nice catch, he also had a couple really nice runs. He looks like one of those guys that's only going to get better when pads come on. So Jordan Mason, put him on your 49ers watch list for preseason for a guy who can potentially make the roster. Jordan Mason might be one of the next undrafted gems. in the Kyle Shanahan era. Um, we've heard Anthony Lynn talk about him as well and mention that he's only going to get better when pads come on. Someone on Instagram said Donovan West getting any reps? Yeah, Donovan West getting reps. He's getting reps with the threes. Jason Poe is playing right guard. You have Schluter playing right tackle. You have Sutherland playing left guard with the threes. Justin School, I believe, was playing either right tackle or left tackle. They're kind of switching back and forth, but they're running with the threes. Here's another offensive line question. Do you think they sign a veteran center like J.C. Treader or roll with Brendel or Brunskill? This is, you guys know me. I'm a nerd for the offensive line. I love watching it. I love evaluating it. It's the position that I feel like I personally know the best. Um, Obviously, playing it has really helped me in that regard. But I can see what's going on right now with the 49ers offensive line. I can see what's happening. A lot of people like Treader, but it is important to remember that Treader has a pretty long, extensive injury history, and he might be a little bit more expensive than the 49ers want to pay right now. It does appear that the 49ers will have Daniel Brunskill starting at center in 2022. So this is what they're doing. It's a slow burn. I talk about it like training camp is an evolution. Things don't have to happen right away, but I can tell you the signs of the evolution that Brunskill. It does feel like Brunskill is taking over that center spot, and I'll tell you why. Jake Brendel is coming out. He is still the starting center. He is going out with all the starters. When they call the starters out for team period, guess who's out there? It's Jake Brendel. He is the one guy starting. Then I have also seen it then be they cycle through. So it's the first string gets 2 to 3 reps, then the second string comes in, they get 2 to 3 reps, third string comes in, they get 2 to 3 reps, and then they restart the cycle. And then the starters come back in. Well, what is happening is they are going through that cycle starting with Brendel at center, and then when they restart the cycle, it's Brunskill. So that's an indication of a competition and splitting reps. So when you hear people talk about splitting reps, that's what's happening. They are splitting reps right now at center between Jake Brendel and Daniel Brunskill. Obviously, Daniel Brunskill has years, so like he's got a solid 2.5 years of starting experience. And, just like when I was talking with Mike McGlinchey said that, Brunskill's probably one of the smartest players that he's ever played with. And getting to play next to Alex Mack last year, getting to focus on guard and kind of transition potentially to center. That's what feels like's going on right now. So it does, like, if you had to ask me who's going to be the day one center for the San Francisco 49ers starting week one, based on the 2 practices that I've seen, feels like it's going to be Brunskill. It feels like they're already starting the rotation. They're already splitting the reps. Brunskill got more reps with the ones today than yesterday. Like I said, it's a slow burn. And then one day we're potentially going to come out and it's going to be Brunskill running with the ones. So that's what it feels like. If I was a betting man, and I like Brendel. I think Brendel has shown promise. I think Brendel has shown that he's capable. And I think he could absolutely be the 49ers starting center. But we also understand that Brunskill has the experience. And based on the way that they're splitting reps right now, does feel like Brunskill will be your day one starter. So then the question becomes, before it was, and we've heard the 49ers, I think I was talking with McGlinchey as well, and he was saying, well, when you look at this offense, you need the bookends. You need bookend tackles. Those guys are the real linchpins of the offensive line. You need the bookend tackles, but you also need the center. And those were the three spots that I believe it was McGlinchey when we were talking, he pointed to that are important for the scheme. So I could see a scenario that exists where they feel comfortable with Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey as your bookend tackles. They put Brunskill at center, Aaron Banks at left guard, and then potentially enter a competition for right guard. So we'll see. But like I said earlier, Burford has not taken a step out of being the starting right guard. 2 days in camp. I would say that's probably one of the biggest surprises. I would say that's probably one of the biggest surprises of training camp is what is going on with the offensive line. Now, you guys, if you follow me on Twitter, if you follow me and you're on my lives with me, you know that I've been adamant since or talking about like, all right, well, if Alex Mack were to retire, we know he did. But before he retired and kind of thinking like, what's the next step, right? Because the 49ers they went through free agency. They didn't bring in a center. They went through the draft. They didn't draft a center. They brought in 2 undrafted free agent centers, but they didn't draft a center. And I think so. We were like, whoa, what does that mean? Alex Mack is back. But you guys remember, we talked about it quite a bit. If it were up to me, I'm kicking Brunskill down to center if Alex Mack was not here. And so I've been pretty adamant about that, and it does appear that's exactly what's happening. Is they are kicking Brunskill down to center, and it does feel like maybe in the next week we might see Brunskill running out with the ones. So that's what it looks like. So based on that and their comfortability around Brunskill, I don't think they bring in a JC Treader. I think they like Brunskill. You guys know I like Brunskill. This is probably where the head of the Brunskill fan club resides. So I'm pretty positive it's going to be Brunskill. But again, anything can happen. Anything can develop. Someone said, "Do you think Alex Mack comes back and plays football?" No, I think Alex is done. He's had a long run. He has had a long run. 13-year career, I believe, all-decade team. Alex Mack decided it's time to hang it up, and I totally understand why. Oh, okay. I like this. Do you think our secondary rotation is good? I see everyone talking about the starters, but not much about our rotation. I didn't even talk about Brandon Ayuk made such a good catch today. Brandon Ayuk got absolutely clobbered by George Odom. I believe it was like about 15 to 20 yard depth down the middle of the field. Ayuk was cutting across the field. I believe it was Nate Sudfeld. Put some respect on Sudfeld. Sudfeld's throwing some darts out here. Sudfeld delivered a dime, not a dime, but a really good pass over the middle. And it was a contested catch situation. And it was where George Odom had a really good opportunity at the ball, but Brandon Ayuk went up and got it. When Brandon Ayuk was snagging it, he also got rocked, like absolutely rocked midair because they both left their feet. They both went to attack the football. Ayuk beat out George Odom for it, but Odom smacked smacked Ayuk and got knocked, but he came down with the football and was able to get it down. Um, but George Odom was the point. So far, George Odom looks capable. Haven't seen him make too many plays, but I also admittedly haven't been ultra focused on the second team safeties at this point. Hi. You have me, Maz? Yeah. Oh, that's fun. You say happy birthday? Happy birthday. Sorry, my son just walked in, crashed alive. Happy birthday to my little guy. He turns 3 tomorrow. Time flies, man. He turns 3 tomorrow. We're going to Monterey tomorrow. I'm excited about that. That's gonna be a good time. Let's see. Hey, appreciate all the happy birthdays for the little guy. Shout out all the homies on YouTube. We see the SDS. Hey, can we talk about the vibes? Can we talk about the vibes at training camp? Training camp's been litty. Shout out to all the SDS that said what's up. You guys are making me feel real good out there. You guys are making me feel like it's wild. But I appreciate anyone who said what's up. It's good seeing all you guys. It's good connecting too with like people that like we interact with. Like I interact with daily, like either on like Instagram or YouTube. And you got dudes walk up, be like, "Hey, I'm this guy." I'm like, "Yeah, what's good? Let's go." It's really cool to interact with you guys. It's a lot of fun. But as I got completely sidetracked, what other questions do you have about training camp? Here's one on YouTube. Do you think Kyle will be more aggressive with Trey? Not out the gate. I don't think so. I think not out the gate. I think the number one goal right now is to build Trey Lance's confidence. Yeah, I think people forget that just because Trey Lance has a phenomenal athletic profile, insane cerebral and processing ability, it's been a while since Trey's been the number one guy. It's been since 2019. Really, since he's had like an extended period of time. So I think out the gate, because I like to reference back to the 2019 San Francisco 49ers. Think about how they used Jimmy Garoppolo. They really didn't put it all on Jimmy Garoppolo. They won with the run game. They won with the defense. They allowed Jimmy to get up to speed. And then when Jimmy started to feel comfortable, then we saw Jimmy kind of start to step out of his shell a little bit. Remember, he's coming off the ACL. I imagine we have a similar plan. The goal is not to put it on Trey. The goal is to win with the elite defense, take care of the football, and run the football. And then use Trey Lance in play action, use Trey Lance with his threat to run. And then once Kyle can start using Trey like a chess piece, that's when the fireworks will begin. Once defenses are like dead set on stopping the run, then you hit a little play action boot. You get Trey Lance out in space. You get Trey Lance just throwing bombs. Then defenses won't know what to do. Then defenses are like, well, do we stop the run? Do we stop the pass? And then you just got Kyle Shanahan like a mad scientist, just dialing it up. Just dialing it up. Christy says, please give us an update on our little 49er. My boy Walker is doing well. Hopefully, praying in about a week, my guy will be out of the NICU, but that's best case scenario. Best case scenario. Could be in there for a couple more weeks, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what's going on. Jackie, switching from Insta. The great migration is upon us. Shout out all my migrators from Instagram to YouTube. Have you guys noticed that everyone's pissed at Instagram lately, and it's not just me anymore? I think that is one of the things that has made me most happy. I have been so mad at Instagram for years. Hence why our following on YouTube is so robust. Because I seen it coming. But it is funny to see like everyone pissed off at Instagram at the same time. I kind of get a little bit of joy in it. I'm not gonna lie, because I've been pissed at them for a long time. Let's see. But again, I think someone asked about Trent Williams. Oh, I see it. Oh, they're on Instagram, and so the real ones are on Instagram and YouTube at the same time. That's taking multitasking to a completely different level. Completely different level. Trent Williams, I think, is still just again. Trent Williams is, they said it's a family matter, but it also could just be a veteran day. I don't know. They haven't really gotten too much into it. But I do think that Trent's going to be just fine. Trent, and just for reference, Trent didn't play a whole lot last camp either. So last year, Trent didn't play a whole lot. I don't know if you guys remember, Jalen Moore took primarily almost all the left tackle snaps in training camp. I just think Trent Williams is in a place where his craft is defined, and he doesn't need to go out and put himself in those types of situations. Trent Williams, again, to be available for a 17, 18, 19, 20 game season, he doesn't really need to be available in training camp. So it'd be nice from the sense of, getting Aaron Banks a little bit more acclimated with playing with Trent Williams and things like that. But I think overall it's not that big of a deal. Eric Armstead didn't practice today. I think it's kind of in that same category. Like, Eric doesn't need to practice today. Eric's in year 8. He's proven. He's proven. He doesn't need to prove anything else to anyone anymore. So I'm not too worried about that stuff. So far, everyone seems healthy. We had a little bit of an injury scare. Just it was tiny, but it was enough to make the whole crowd go, "Oh!" Ty Davis Price took a handoff and instantly hit the turf, and we were like, "Oh goodness." Please don't be a non-contact injury, because we know those non-contact injuries are brutal. But he was able to get up right away, so that was nice. Obviously, knock on wood, we don't want any injuries in camp, so so far so good. Any info on Poe? Poe's been running at right guard with the third string offensive line. Robert Kimdichi was was going up against Poe today, and that's one of the things that I kinda noticed from the few times that I had watched Kimdichi. Kimdichi is aggressive. Like, again, these guys aren't wearing pads, and Kimdichi was firing off the line on Poe. Um, he was standing him up a couple times, but again, for the offensive line, you're at a disadvantage because they don't have the pads. And then when you get a defensive lineman who is going like 150%, and you, as an offensive lineman, don't have pads, so you're already not going 100%, it creates an imbalance in a sense. So the biggest thing with evaluating the offensive line is, especially right now with no pads, it's really difficult to like really, really give a like good analysis on the O line because they don't have the ability to do what they need to do. Any info on Jackson, second round DN? He looks good. He looks big. You see plays where he would have had a sack today on the Danny Gray long ball. That looked really nice. He would have had a sack there. But I also saw another play where I think he went up against Justin School. And some of the things that, I've talked about with Drake Jackson is maybe developing some counter moves, like that secondary move or setting up one move to counter to another. School did a good job of kind of stoning him. So he shows promise, but I still think Drake could get even better. I think that's one of the things that's most exciting about Drake is like I was looking at him and he just looks like a freak. And that's funny. His Instagram name is The Freak, and it's very fitting because he looks like a freak. And so with Drake, I imagine he's only going to get better. Um, I think that's why he slid to 61. Just maybe on more the technical aspects of things, not necessarily the raw intangibles or tools. He's got those. But I think he's gonna take a next step forward. I thought one of the things that was really cool, and I kind of posted it on my Instagram, was Samson Ebukam staying after practice to kind of work with Robert Kimdichi on some smaller technical things. I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool. They stayed after long too. They stayed after a solid 20 to 30 minutes after practice. Samson Ebukam with Robert Kimdichi, and Samson was just like teaching him those smaller, nuanced techniques off to the side. No coaches, just them two. I thought that was really cool. It's always cool when you see guys go out of their way to help the next guy. Like, again, Samson he could be like, I want to go in. I just was practicing all day. Samson's lining up with the starters. He's out there in that number one rotation. But he stayed behind with a guy that just got here and is showing him what's required to play in the scheme. Um, One of the things about Robert Kimdichi, he's been bringing the energy 2 days in a row. Robert Kimdichi on 2 or 3 separate occasions has been like, wow, he's got some crazy energy. Not only like on the field, but with the fans. Like Kimdichi's having a blast out here. Kimdichi's having a blast, and it's good to see. Um, and I'd love to see that continue. But a lot of good stuff. Um, how has Leon O'Neal been? I haven't seen a whole lot from Leon. Admittedly, uh, admittedly, haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to it. Um, to kind of the third string safeties a whole lot, but we'll see. I'm just excited for pads to come on. Excited for all that good stuff to come on. It's going to be a good time. Really, really looking forward to it. But overall, from training camp, A lot of good time. There's a lot of good stuff out there, man. The 49ers defense looks crazy good. Looks like they're really going to be one of those top units in the NFL. So that's really, really exciting. Really excited to see once the pad comes on, then we're going to have some real fun with kind of evaluation and seeing who does what and does these things. So looking forward to that. Um, but once the pads come on, it's gonna be a good time. Who do I think the starting left defensive end is across Nick Bosa? I think it's gonna be Samson Ebukam. I think it's definitely gonna be Samson Ebukam, for sure. But Samson, he's been rolling out there. Charles Omenihu isn't too far behind. Kamoko Ture isn't too far behind. They've got a lot of dogs on that defensive line. Communication on the defense so far seems really good. I mean, you got a lot of guys at each level that know exactly what they're doing. So I think communication on the defense is going to be great. I think the defense really does have an opportunity and we saw the 49ers defense did a really good job of helping the 49ers stay in games last year and win games. So I think they're keeping that same mentality. And you heard Eric Armstead, he came to the podium. He said things very similar. He said, "We don't count on the 49ers. We don't count on our offense to win us games. We count on the defense to win us games." And I really do think that's their mentality. I think they're really kind of taking that ownership. I did see a tweet from um why am I blanking on his name? It was reported from ESPN reporter Nick Wagner. One of the things that he took away at the end of the practice when they broke down the team, like typically you're like, all right, Niners on 3, or in his tweet he said team or family, like you hear that all the time. He said they broke down today's practice with championship. So championship on 3. 1, 2, 3, championship. And that's how they broke practice. So that tells you what the expectation is. The expectation is they want to get a ring. So I like that. It's a little nugget. It's, take it for what it's worth. But the fact that the team is breaking their practices with championship tells you exactly where their mind's at. So that's really, really awesome. So you love to see that. I'm looking forward to it, man. I don't think there was anything today that would cause me grave concern. Really, I don't like. I know people are gonna try to turn. It's like what's that saying? Turning a molehill into a mountain or whatever. Um, I did not see anything that was overly concerning. Again, considering the context, considering all the quarterbacks were under a pretty significant amount of pressure for the majority of the day, the fact that the offensive line doesn't have pads, which makes them at a disadvantage to protect the quarterback. They're not working run games because it's really hard to just block and do what you need to do in the run game. I'm not concerned. It's way too early. It's way too early. We can talk about it objectively and talk about how it wasn't Trey Lance's best practice. But again, he's going up against clearly what we're identifying as one of the best defensive units in the NFL. So, considering going up against one of the better units in the NFL, offensive line is kind of being pieced together, no pads. Um, I'm not concerned because everything that I saw today can be corrected. So someone said we're talking about practice. Exactly. We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice. Like practice is, you're supposed to make mistakes in practice. That's what practice is for. Practice is for trying things, like trying to force feed situations, trying, like the defense knows what you're doing. The defense knows your tendencies. Like, that's the thing. It's like you're going to make mistakes in practice because the guys on the other side of the football also know what you're trying to accomplish. So it does become difficult sometimes. Like if I'm an offensive lineman and I'm squaring off against this defensive lineman for the 100th time, he knows exactly everything about me. He knows what my tendencies are. He knows how fast my first step is. He knows what kind of counter hand placement I'm going to try to do, and they work against that. And so you have to take that into consideration. So again, anything that I saw from today, the biggest thing that I could take away from Trey is Trey started out a little rocky, and it wasn't perfect, but he was able to get back on track and make some good throws and started to air it out. Yesterday didn't really air it out a whole lot, but we started to see he started to take a couple shots. Uh, he went after Danny Gray on a deep ball. Their timing wasn't right. Danny Gray was taking more of an in-breaking angle, looked like Trey was pushing more downfield. Guess what they did? Danny Gray and Trey Lance stayed after practice, them two specifically, and were throwing the deep ball. I don't think there's any like there's a direct correlation to that, in my opinion. There's a direct correlation to that. Um, they didn't hit their deep ball attempt. You could tell the timing and angle was off. So what did they do? They stayed after practice and they worked on it. That's what you do. That's what practice is for. Okay, we didn't get it here. We know we can identify why we didn't get it. Now let's work on that. So that's what you ask. That's what you want to see. And then you want to see that then reincorporated into practice. So if we get back on here and we're like, Trey Lance hit a fire deep ball on target, on point to Danny Gray, we'll be able to point back to this moment. We'll be able to be like, look, they missed it in this practice. They stayed after they worked on it. And guess what? They were able to correct it and get it on point. So that's what practice is for. Very important to remember that practice is for making mistakes and perfecting the craft and all those types of things. Hi. Oh, thank you. Your your birthday tomorrow? Yeah. All right, but I do think that is time for this ginger beard to log off. It's been a really fun 2 days of practice. It's been great being able to get back to practice. It's been great connecting with all you guys. Again, if you guys have seen me at practice, it's been a blast chopping it up with you guys. It's been really cool to connect with some of the followers that we have, some of the people who always chiming in on YouTube, on Instagram. It's been a really good time. I've had a lot of fun. Definitely it's dinner time. Looking forward to it. To get back to it again, tomorrow is going to be a day off. No football tomorrow, at least for any general admission. There will be practice, but it will be limited to beat reporters and things like that. So we'll still have some stuff, but we will be talking about more about what they're seeing, less about what I'm seeing, but it will still be plenty to talk about. So like I said, I'm probably going to be out of town. It's my son's birthday tomorrow. I don't know what my live schedule is going to look like. I don't know. Might not be doing a live. We'll see. Of course, you guys already know I'm going to be posting and doing all that good stuff. But tomorrow, I will be. I don't know what the live schedule looks like for tomorrow, but we'll be back in Santa Clara for 49ers practice on Saturday, and we will go from there. But appreciate everyone tapping in. Appreciate all the support on the channel. Appreciate everyone who likes that video on YouTube, subs on YouTube, throws those noties on, all that good stuff. Appreciate you guys. We're out of here for now. It's been good practice. Hey, we got 49ers football. We got 49ers football back, and it's been a blast. Really, really looking forward to it. Appreciate you all. We're